We are going to discuss tumors of large intestine, and first we are going to discuss adenoma, commonest epithelial tumor of intestine. Adenomas range from 0.3 to 10 centimeter in diameter. Sessile or pedunculated. Incidence increase with age. Below 40 years of age, 20 to 30% population is affected. After 60 years of age, incidence is 40 to 50%. Familial predisposition present, so they are seen in families. Males and females are equally affected. All adenomas are a result of proliferative epithelial dysplasia and may give rise to invasive carcinoma. Histological hallmarks of epithelial dysplasia are nuclear hyperchromasia, nuclear elongation, and stratification. These changes are more marked at the surface of the adenoma and are often accompanied by prominent nucleoli, eosinophilic cytoplasm, and a reduction in the number of goblet cells. Pedunculated adenoma have fibrovascular stalk containing prominent blood vessels derived from the submucosa. The stalk is usually covered by non-neoplastic epithelium. So the covering of the stalk is by non-neoplastic epithelium, but dysplasia can be present. Adenomas are classified into four major types, which are based on epithelial architecture. Villus adenoma, tubular adenoma, tubulovillous adenomas, and then sessile serrated adenomas. So I repeat once again: tubular adenomas, villus adenomas, tubulovillous adenomas, and sessile serrated adenomas. Malignant transformation depends upon polyp size, histological features, and severity of epithelial dysplasia. So malignant transformation of the adenoma, it depends upon the size, histological features, and severity of epithelial dysplasia. You must be knowing that under the heading of neoplastic polyps, we just discussed that the adenoma is a polyp which is a neoplastic polyp. Villus adenomas greater than 4 centimeter in diameter are likely to undergo malignant transformation. So villus adenomas which are greater than 4 centimeter in diameter, they likely to undergo malignant transformation. Adenoma may arise anywhere in the colon. About half are found in the rectosigmoid area. They may be solitary or multiple. Now regarding morphology, tubular adenoma, they are the commonest, more than 90%, found in the colon, single or multiple, rounded lesions, vary from 0.5 to 2 cm in size. Smaller are sessile and larger are pedunculated. They are usually red and contain stalk of normal mucosa which has been dragged by traction of the polyp in the ball lumen. So the stalk is formed by the normal mucosa which has been dragged by the traction of the polyp in the ball lumen. Composed of tubular shaped glands lined by columnar epithelium. May show varying grade of cellular dysplasia. Now, this is the photograph showing gross appearance of a small tubular adenoma in the middle of the colon. Which is marked with circle. It has smooth surfaces and is discrete. These are common adenomas which are found in the colon. Now here you can see tubular adenoma. This is the adenoma and this is the stalk. Here again stalk is marked red and this is the entire adenoma, tubular adenoma. Microscopic appearance of tubular adenoma. Now you can see this is the lining, whole line. The covering mucosa, the covering, and this is the stalk of the adenoma. Now here it is shown by red color, the stalk of the adenoma. The normal colonic mucosa on the left and that of tubular adenoma, this is normal, and this is tubular adenoma. On the right, these are neoplastic glands which are irregular, showing hyperchromatic and more crowded nuclei. Villus adenoma, more common in rectosigmoid region, usually sessile, 1 to 5 centimeter in diameter, maybe up to 10 centimeter in diameter, velvety or cauliflower-like masses projecting above the surface of mucosa. Villus adenomas harbor cancers more frequently than tubular adenomas. This is the point to remember. They harbor the cancers more frequently than tubular adenomas. But this also correlates with the larger size of villus adenoma. Now, villus adenomas composed of finger-like tall processes with a central connective tissue core and lined by columnar epithelium. Composed of tall finger-like processes with a central connective tissue core and lined by tall columnar epithelium. Dysplastic changes in the cells are present. All degrees of dysplasia may be encountered. Invasive carcinoma is seen in about 40% of these lesions. Now you can appreciate in this photograph villus adenoma, which is sessile rather than pedunculated and are larger than a tubular adenoma. A villus adenoma averages several centimeters in diameter and may be up to 10 centimeters. So you can appreciate here. Again, villus adenoma, which has got a cauliflower-like appearance. Gross appearance of that photograph showing gross appearance of villus adenoma. Now, here the histological features of villus adenoma you can see here. And this appearance is due to elongated glandular structures covered. These are the elongated glandular structures covered by dysplastic epithelium. Then tubovilus adenomas, a combination of two varieties, 1 to 4 centimeter in size. They are red in color and have a stalk. A part of tumor composed of villus structure, and the deeper portion has a tubular morphology. Less common than tubular adenomas. Now, this photograph showing the gross appearance of the tubovilus adenoma. Signs and symptoms. They are usually asymptomatic, discovered accidentally on operation. Chronic bleeding and anemia may be the presenting complaint. Large amount of mucus rich in protein and potassium is lost, which results in hypoproteinemia and hypokalemia. These adenomas may be the starting point of intussusception. Prone to undergo malignant change, and the bleeding may be severe. Sessile serrated adenoma, premalignant sessile lesions of the colon. Histology overlaps with hyperplastic polyps, but they are more commonly found in the right colon. They must be differentiated from hyperplastic polyp by serrated architecture present throughout the full length of the glands, including the crypt base, crypt dilatation, and lateral crypt growths. Then, before going into the detail of colorectal carcinoma, intramucosal carcinoma, when the dysplastic epithelium breach the basement membrane to invade the lamina propria, but not through the muscularis mucosa. So the breach is limited to the lamina propria, but not through the muscularis mucosa. The lymphatic channels are absent in the clonic mucosa. So intramucosal carcinomas, either little or no metastatic potential, resulting in complete cure after polypectomy. Invasion beyond the muscularis mucosae, including into the submucosal stalk of a pedunculated polyp, progress to invasive adenocarcinoma and carries a risk of spread to other sites. Colorectal carcinoma. Colorectal carcinoma or adenocarcinoma of the colon is the most common malignancy of the GIT tract. It is responsible for nearly 10% of all cancer deaths worldwide, more common in males, start as adenoma, peak incidence 60 to 70 years of age, seen at an early age when associated with ulcerative colitis and polyposis. There are many risk factors: high caloric diet, smoking, age, peak at 60 to 70 years of age. Fewer than 20% of cases occur before 50 years of age. The incidence of disease before age 40 is increasing now, and this is due to the change in the dietary habits, obesity, diabetes mellitus, intestinal polyps, history of colonic cancer, and inflammatory bowel disease like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, particularly Crohn's disease, which is limited to the colon. Then familial syndromes like FAP syndrome, which is familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, HNPCC, which is hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, Torcut syndrome, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. Then family history, first degree relatives, if they are affected, then the chances are more in the other relatives. When the relatives suffering from cancer at younger age, the incidence is more in other members, and family with a history of colorectal cancer. Etiology not known, but certain factors play a role like geographical factors, Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and with changes in the lifestyle and diet, Japan have high incidences of colorectal adenocarcinoma. Lower in South America, India, Africa, and South Central Asia. Environmental factors do play a role as the incidence changes when people migrate. So there are certain environmental factors, and because the incidence changes when the people migrate from one place to another. Now, dietary factors, low residual diet, well, increases the risk of colorectal carcinoma. High contents of refined carbohydrates, again, increases the risk, and high fat contents. Now, colorectal carcinoma, risk factors relating to diet. Let's start from here. Low fiber diet content of food and high intake of refined carbohydrates. Take first. This leads to decrease in stool bulk, which reduces intestinal motility. So the toxic products remain in contact with chronic mucosa for longer period. Ultimately, carcinogenesis take place. Now we come to this site. Low fiber content of food and high intake of refined carbohydrates alter the composition of microbiota. Increased synthesis of toxic oxidative byproducts of bacterial metabolism. So again, the toxic products remain in contact with chronic mucosa for a longer period of time, and this lead to carcinogenesis. Again, dietary factors which are high risk: high intake of fat, increased hepatic synthesis of cholesterol and bile acids converted to carcinogens by intestinal bacteria may result in carcinoma. Now, antioxidants. Diet containing antioxidants have protective action. Decreased contents of micronutrients like vitamin A, C, and E, they increase the risk of colorectal cancer. High intake of fresh vegetables and fruits decrease the risk of cancer. Aspirin and other non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they inhibit the enzyme COX-2, which is expressed in 90% of colorectal carcinoma and 40 to 90% of adenomas. So aspirin inhibit the enzyme COX-2. COX-2 is necessary for production of prostaglandin E2, which promotes epithelial proliferation, particularly after injury, so have got a protective action. Colonic polyps. Villus polyps are more prone to develop carcinoma than the tubular adenomatous polyps. These are the villus polyps. You can appreciate finger-like processes, and this is the tubular adenoma or tubular adenomatous polyp. Now, there are familial syndromes which are associated with colorectal cancer. Familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer syndrome, Torcott syndrome, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. I repeat this slide. There are familial syndromes which are associated with colorectal cancer. Familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, Torcott syndrome, Peutz-Jeghers syndrome. Now, familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, autosomal dominant disorder, constitutes 1% of colorectal cancer. There is mutation of APC gene, which is a tumor suppressor gene. Due to mutation in APC gene, there is uncontrolled and rapid proliferation of cells which lead to polyp formation. At least 100 polyps are required for the diagnosis of familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome, but they are seen in thousands. They are benign but develop malignancy later on. Cancer develop in 40% of patients at 30 years of age, whereas in 100% of cases by the age of 50. Now you can see this diagram. There are cells in familial adenomatous polyposis syndrome. Mutation of APC gene has taken place and multiplication of the cells take place, resulting in the formation of polyps and hundreds and thousands of polyps in the hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer, autosomal dominant disorder, also called Lynch syndrome. In this, there are no pre-existing polyps. Colon cancers are multiple. You can appreciate it here. Maybe synchronous or metachronous. Synchronous means they are occurring at the same time, or metachronous occurring at different times. 75% of colon cancers occur in the proximal colon. This is the proximal colon. Microscopic features: poorly differentiated tumors show lymphocytic infiltration, and histological patterns are cribriform, mucinous, and signet ring-like, which are seen in this condition. Prognosis is better than sporadic cancers. So there is a flowchart of hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer or carcinoma, which is HNPCC, also known as Lynch syndrome. Autosomal dominant inheritance. There is mutation in mismatch repair genes. This is the important point. And these genes are MLH1, MSH2, MSH6, PMS2. Mutations accumulate in microsatellite region, and there is microsatellite instability, and there is carcinoma of colon. Now these genes, which are mismatch repair genes and there is mutation in that, they encode proteins responsible for detection, excision, and repair of error that occur during DNA replication. So the errors which are produced in the DNA during DNA replication, they remain unchecked and ultimately they result in microsatellite instability, and then they result in colon cancer. Now mutation in mismatch repair genes causes cancers not only in the colon but also in other organs like breast, and the endometrium is a very important one, ovary, stomach, small intestine, urothelium of the renal pelvis, and in the ureter. So on the basis of that, we say that it's a Lynch syndrome 1, type 1, where familial colonic cancers are there, and Lynch syndrome 2, where familial clonic cancers and extraclonic cancers. Then there is a variant of this Lynch syndrome, which is Muir-Torre syndrome. It is characterized by sebaceous epitheliomas, sebaceous carcinoma, colorectal cancer, multiple keratoacanthomas, and tumors of genitourinary tract. Torcott syndrome, autosomal recessive disease, mutations of APC and mismatch repair genes. Clonic polyps develop in clonic malignancies. Brain tumors like medulloblastoma and glioblastoma. And there is also congenital hypertrophy of retinal pigmented epithelium. So there are clonic polyps which later on develop into carcinoma, brain tumors like medulloblastoma or glioblastoma, and congenital hypertrophy of retinal pigmented epithelium. Peutz-Jeghers syndrome, autosomal dominant, accounts for less than 1% of all colorectal carcinomas. Mutations in STK11 gene manifested by multiple hematomatous polyps in GIT detected as early as in the first decade of life. Mucocutaneous pigmentation of mouth, lips, buccal mucosa, genital regions, palms and soles, and also multiple hematomatous polyps in the GIT. You can see that. Increased risk of gastrointestinal malignancies, risk of malignancies other organs like lung, breast, uterus and testes. Now we are going to discuss pathogenesis of colorectal carcinoma, and in that the genetic factors. Now in genetic factors there are two important pathways, and there are two major pathways, and then there are two minor pathways. So two major pathways are APC beta catenin pathway, and which is activated in the classical adenoma carcinoma sequence. Then there is microsatellite instability pathway, which is associated with the defects in DNA mismatch repair and accumulation of mutations in microsatellite repeat regions of the genome. So in both these pathways, there is a stepwise accumulation of multiple mutations taking place in different involved genes and the mechanism by which these mutations take place. Then there are two other pathways. One is microsatellite instability without mutation in DNA mismatch repair enzymes, which demonstrate the CpG island hypermethylation phenotype. And then there is another pathway which is increased CpG island methylation in the absence of microsatellite instability. Now, before going into the detail of these pathways, there are certain terms which are being used in these pathways, and I just want to uh, just revise those terms with you. First is gene silencing. It is defined as epigenetic modification of genes expression leading to inactivation of previously active individual genes. So this term you are going to come across, gene silencing. Then epigenetics. It is the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work. Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change DNA sequence, but they can change how your body reads a DNA sequence. Then, microsatellite instability is the condition of genetic hypermutability predisposing to mutation that results from impaired DNA mismatch repair. The presence of microsatellite instability represent phenotype evidence that mismatch repair is not functioning normally. DNA mismatch repair is a system for recognizing and repairing erroneous insertion, deletion, and misincorporation of bases that can arise during DNA replication and recombination, as well as repairing some forms of DNA damage. Mismatch repair is strand specific. Now we go to the adenoma carcinoma sequence or APC beta catenin pathway. Around 80% of sporadic colorectal cancers are the result of mutation in APC gene early in the neoplastic process. For the development of colonic adenomas, both copies of gene must be functionally inactive. Very important point. This may be a result of mutation or by epigenetic event. Now, this is the photograph which shows that APC protein forms a macromolecular destruction complex along with other proteins. Now, here you can appreciate that this is the APC protein and this is beta catenin, the blue one, and it forms a complex with beta catenin, and APC protein holds it and forms a macromolecular destruction complex with other proteins and ultimately degrade it through proteasomal pathway. Now these are the degradation products of beta catenin. Now these degradation products cannot enter the nucleus and they are not going to combine with TCF. Ultimately, there will be no cell proliferation. And this is seen in the absence of Wnt signaling. And this is the resting phase of the, so no proliferation is taking place in the resting phase of the cell. Now, once there is mutation in the APC gene, you can see it, APC proteins, they are not going to be formed, and ultimately the destruction complex is not formed, with the result degradation of beta catenin cannot take place, with the result beta catenin translocates to the nucleus and form a complex with a DNA binding factor TCF, activates transcription of genes which includes MYC and cyclin D1 that promote cell proliferation. So this is the one way. The other way is that many tumors of the colon, they have normal APC genes, but there is mutation in other genes which produce abnormal beta catenin and prevents its APC protein dependent destruction. So when the beta catenin is abnormal, of course it's not going to combine with the normal APC protein and ultimately accumulates, translocates to the nucleus. The mutant protein accumulates in the nucleus and stimulates the transcription, which is shown here. Okay, then there is a hypothesis which is Knudsen two-hit hypothesis, and according to this hypothesis, in sporadic tumors, both alleles of the chromosome, they are normal, and during first hit there is mutation of one allele, whereas other allele remains normal and not much change is seen in the cells, but it becomes a precancerous. Then there is other mutation which is called second hit, and both the alleles now they are affected, resulting in the tumor formation. Now in inherited tumors, one of the allele is affected or is mutated, and whereas the other mutation takes place, resulting in tumor formation. Now coming to the pathway, look at this is the normal epithelium, and these are the somatic mutations which are acquired or germline inherited mutations of tumor suppressor gene, which is first hit, and tumor suppressor gene is APC, which is located at chromosome number 5 on QARM21. Then there is a hypermethylation leading to gene silencing and inactivation of the normal allele. This is the second hit, resulting in hyperproliferation of the epithelium. Look at this. There is hyperproliferation of the epithelium. So once APC is inactivated, the beta catenin is not being degraded, and ultimately it translocates into the nucleus and resulting in the proliferation of the cell by combining with TCF. Now this is we continue with it. This is the hyperproliferative epithelium, which is formed with the loss of APC function and beta catenin accumulation, which activates the transcription of genes including c-MYC and cyclin D1 that promotes proliferation. We have already discussed it. Now this hyperproliferative epithelium accumulates mutation in KRAS, which is located at 12p12 and results in the formation of small adenoma. And why result in the formation of small adenoma? Because KRAS mutations promote growth and prevent apoptosis. So we result in the formation of small adenoma by the mutation of KRAS. Now further mutations in tumor suppressor genes take place, and these genes, they encode SMAD2 and SMAD4, resulting in the formation of large adenomas. These are the large adenomas. So SMAD2 and SMAD4 are effectors for TGF beta signaling, and TGF beta normally inhibits the cell cycle, and loss of these genes allow cell proliferation. So there is formation of large adenomas. Now in the large adenomas, mutations of TP53 takes place, and the cells they continue to undergo mutations, and P53 is located at 17p13, and due to these mutations adenocarcinoma, so more and more proliferation takes place. Now adenocarcinoma has resulted additional mutations, increased expression of telomerase lead to tumor progression and its metastasis. Okay, so the summary of it is APC beta catenin pathway, normal epithelium, APC mutation, APC gene mutation, hyperproliferation of the epithelium, KRAS mutation, small adenoma formation, SMAD2 and SMAD4 mutation, resulting in large adenoma formation, P53 mutation, resulting in adenocarcinoma formation, and then there are other additional mutations resulting in increased expression of telomerase, leads to tumor progression and its metastasis. Now the other pathway is microsatellite instability pathway. Now this is the normal epithelium of the colon. This is submucosa. This is muscularis. Now what happens is somatic mutations, acquired or germline inherited mutations of mismatch repair genes. And those mismatch repair genes are MLH1, MSH2, MSH6, PMS1 and PMS2. These two are important. Ultimately, there is alteration of secondary by LOH. LOH stands for loss of heterozygosity. So mutation or hypermethylation of the promoter region takes place. Okay, so we are at this point of the micro instability pathway, and there is hyperproliferative epithelium. Now what happens is ultimately there is formation of sessile serrated adenoma due to microsatellite instability and accumulated mutations in genes that regulate growth differentiation or apoptosis. They are BAX, BRAF, TCF4, IGRF, 2R and others. So we are discussing microsatellite instability pathway, and we discussed hyperproliferative epithelium, and now there is formation of sessile serrated adenoma due to microsatellite instability, and this is due to accumulation in the genes that regulate growth, differentiation, or apoptosis. And those genes are TGF beta receptor 2, BAX, BRAF, TCF4, and IGF2R and others. And ultimately, there is formation of adenocarcinoma. Now, TGF beta inhibits clonic epithelial proliferation. So mutation in that, there will be proliferation of the clonic epithelium. BAX is pro-apoptotic protein. BRAF is an oncogene. TCF is transcription factor 4, and then insulin-like growth factor receptor 2. Now the summary of this microsatellite instability pathway: normal epithelium, mutation in MLH1 and MSH2 leads to hyperproliferative epithelium. Then there is microsatellite instability resulting in sessile serrated adenoma. And why we call it as serrated adenoma? Because it has got sawtooth-like appearance, and then further mutations which are shown here results in adenocarcinoma. So these were the two major pathways for adenocarcinoma of the colon. Now there are other pathways. One is colonic cancers with microsatellite instability without mutation in DNA mismatch repair enzymes, which demonstrate CpG islands hypermethylation phenotype. I'm just going to explain it. In these tumors, MLH1 promoter region is hypermethylated, with the result reducing MLH1 expression and repair function. Mutations in the oncogene BRAF are common in these cancers, whereas KRAS and P53 are not mutated. The combination of microsatellite instability, which is MSI, and BRAF mutation, along with hypermethylation of MLH1 in the promoter region, is the signature of this pathway of carcinogenesis. Now if you see this photograph, you will see that this is the chromosome and this is the DNA, which is coiled over the histones, and this is the acetyl group and this is the methylation group, and there is an enzyme which is histone deacetylase enzyme, which removes this acetyl group. Normally there is a balance between methyl groups and acetyl groups. So, and there are regions which are called non-promoter regions and promoter regions. Promoter regions have got functional genes, whereas non-promoter regions have got non-functional genes. DNA methylation takes place at the non-promoter region. Acetylation increases SS2 transcription factor. Methylation decreases SS2 transcription factors. Okay, so in tumor cells, increased histone deacetylase enzyme removes the acetyl group. So there is hypermethylation, and that hypermethylation is in the promoter region. So hypermethylation contributes to gene silencing, genomic instability, and affects apoptosis, DNA repair, and cell cycle control. Activating mutations in the oncogene BRAF are common. Signature of this pathway of carcinogenesis is the combination of MSI, BRAF mutation, and hypermethylation of MLH1. Now there is another minor pathway. The colonic cancers which display with increased CpG island methylation in the absence of microsatellite instability. What is CpG? CpG is cytosine phosphate guanine. It's a dinucleotide. But this is not CpG island. We call it CpG island when the length is about 200 base pair and CpG percentage is greater than 50. So many tumors have KRAS mutations, but P53 and BRAF mutations are uncommon in this case. Now we have discussed these pathways. One thing is very important, that tumor morphology cannot define the molecular events responsible for carcinogenesis. Certain correlations are associated with mismatch, repair deficiency, and microsatellite instability. These molecular alterations are common in sessile serrated lesions and cancers which arise from them. Invasive carcinomas with microsatellite instability are located in the right colon and have prominent mucinous differentiation and peritumoral lymphocytic infiltrates. Patients with HNPCC should be identified, that is, hereditary non-polyposis colorectal cancer must be identified because of the implication of the genetic counseling, the high risk of a second colonic malignancy, we have discussed this, cancer of the other organs, and difference in prognosis and therapy. Morphology of colorectal carcinoma. Adenocarcinomas are distributed almost equally over the entire length of the colon. Tumors in the proximal colon are polypoidal and fungating lesions. Obstruction uncommon. Tumors in the distal colon are annular growths. Encircle the lumen with narrowing and early obstructions so they produce napkin ring constrictions and luminal narrowing. These lesions have raised beaded margins and central ulceration. Some lesions are infiltrative in type. All types penetrate the wall of the colon and ultimately infiltrate the serosa to form nodules on the serosal surface. Now, this is the gross appearance of colorectal carcinoma. Again, colorectal carcinoma. The margins are heaped up at the site and with a central area of ulceration. This produces the bleeding that allows detection through a stool examination, and this is the normal mucosa on the right. The tumor encircles the colon and this is the tumor and it is infiltrating the wall. Staging is based on the degree of invasion into and through the wall. Again, tumor which is adenocarcinoma in the form of an encircling mass. A change in stool or bowel habits can be created by the effect of this mass. Here there is an colorectal carcinoma presenting like an exophytic growth pattern. Now, adenocarcinoma arising in a villous adenoma. The surface of the neoplasm is polypoidal and reddish pink. Hemorrhage from the surface of the tumor creates an occult blood positive in stool. This neoplasm was located in the sigmoid colon just out of reach of digital examination, but easily visualized with sigmoidoscopy. So carcinoma of the colons may be polypoidal, ulcerative, fungating, annular. This is the diagram of it, either polypoidal, annular, or they are ulcerative. Morphology: carcinoma of the right side of the colon grow to a large size before causing obstruction as the feces are fluid in nature. So the carcinoma of the right side of the colon grows to a larger size because feces are fluid in nature and the presence of the tumor cannot be detected because the obstruction is not detected. They are large polypoid exophytic lesions which grow into the lumen of the colon. Carcinoma of the left cause early obstruction because feces are more solid. Left-sided lesions are annular carcinomas, which are small but cause stenosis, and ulcerating carcinomas, which present with bleeding. Histological features: all tumors are adenocarcinoma. Well to poorly differentiated. Tumors are mucinous. Mucin may be present within the glands, cells, or may form tiny lakes. Adenosquamous combination is seen in tumors of distal colon. Squamous cell carcinoma arise from anorectal region. Now, here you can appreciate this is a micro photograph. The edge of the carcinoma arising in the villus adenoma. The neoplastic glands are long and frond-like, similar to those seen in villus adenoma, and the growth is primarily exophytic. Again, a moderately differentiated adenocarcinoma of the colon. There is a glandular configuration, but the glands you can appreciate here, they are irregular and very crowded. Many of them have lumens containing bluish mucin. You can appreciate that the mucin here. The mucin is here. Adenocarcinoma showing that the glands are larger. The glands are larger and are filled with necrotic debris. This is the necrotic debris. A high par view, the neoplastic glands of adenocarcinoma, they are crowded together. Look at that. They're lying close to each other, back-to-back appearance. The nuclei are crowded. Look at that, crowding of the nuclei, which are hyperchromatic and show pleomorphism, and no goblet cells are seen. Clinical features remain asymptomatic for a long period of time. Right-sided carcinoma. The symptoms are non-specific like fatigue, weight loss, and anemia. Left-sided carcinoma present with changing bowel habits, occult blood, left lower quadrant pain, and discomfort along with pain. An old man with unexplained iron deficiency anemia means carcinoma of the colon until proved otherwise. Spread is local extension through ball wall to the adjacent viscera like bladder, through lymphatics to regional lymph nodes, and through blood vessels to liver, lungs, bones and brain. Diagnosis by signs and symptoms, endoscopic examination, barium anemia, biopsy, and tumor marker, which is CEA, that is carcinoembryonic antigen. Important viva question. Now, as I told you that radiological findings is a very interesting, and that is seen on barium anemia. Look at the constriction produced by the tumor, and this is called apple core sign, as half-eaten apple. Then just broadly, this is the tumor, this is mucosa, blue one, yellow one is the submucosa, and this is muscularis propria, and these are the lymph nodes. So stage A is not extending through the muscularis propria. It's a broad staging, I'm telling you. Stage B, extending through the muscularis propria, nodes not involved. And stage C is extending through the muscularis propria and nodes involved. I've discussed with you the general staging of the colorectal cancer. Now in this chart, it is a Duke staging, which used to be staging the colorectal carcinoma. Now this chart shows modified Duke staging system, and nowadays this TNM system of American Joint Committee on Cancer, which is given in your standard textbook, is used for prognostic stage groups. Gentlemen, I have discussed the subject briefly with you. If you have got any point or any question, please feel free to write in the comment box. Thank you very much. TFG beta